Hello. 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 Oh, we get Tabaliso on Twitch. Oh, snap. Miblert. What's up? Draw House. Jules Saluge. Dude Peel Gonzalez. And Nikolai. What is up, everybody? Today, I am not going to program. I am going to paint. Oh, surprise. Surprise. Uh-oh. There's no audio or sound? Someone have sound or image on the stream? They should. Should be working just fine.
I can hear your voice.
Well, you weren't talking the whole time, so.
Yeah.
But you can hear me on the either or, right? Should be good.
Yeah, I turned up the volume. I heard you.
Maybe you need to turn up the volume. Draw House. Put this always on top. There you go. All right. Man, I've been painting outside of Photoshop for quite a while now. And now I despise it. I've been painting on Procreate pretty much religiously for the last 2 weeks, and I've really grown to love it. And so I'll just paint whatever I can here for y'all. So let's begin. Let's do it. So I'm just going to be painting something. I'm going to be painting, and I have image. Oh, Nikolai, good job. Nikolai is a champion. So I'm going to be painting, I don't know, what movie's coming out? Actually, you know what? Let's make this fun. You guys give me suggestions. So I'll just kind of doodle for a little bit. I'll paint for about 10 to 15 minutes, and I'll call the stream at an end. It looks kind of like a wiener if you look at it. Oh, this video is going to be demonetized. Well, technically, it's not even monetized. So, but if it was, YouTube would be like, well, let's demonetize it. You know what we're going to do? We're going to monetize this video just so we can demonetize it. That's how YouTube sounds, by the way. The YouTube execs, corporate YouTube. Mega Man's? We'll start with a Mega Man. Why not? You know where that's from, Michael?
I'm gonna Mega Man 3.
Yeah, you made a guess. That was a good guess to just even say Mega Man.
Well, you said Mega. That was easy. Didn't have to work that hard for that one.
So I'm gonna make my own version of Mega Man, but I will add any kind of features or details as you guys request. Cheers from Costa Rica. What is up, Pelin Artist? 11 duels. So you want me to do 11? Okay. I'm assuming he's referring to which Mega Man, but we'll just put 11 in there as I'm taking requests. So Mega Man has this helmet that has like this like visor that goes on top. I was a huge fan. I still am. They're making a new Mega Man 11. Wait, yeah, that's not Mega Man 11. Mega Man 11 is just coming out. Fool. But I used to watch and play. There was like a TV show. I think I used to watch the TV show, and if I remember correctly, maybe it was in my dreams. No, I'm pretty sure there was a show. But yeah, I used to play a lot when I was a kid. I loved Mega Man. That's the kind of game that I like. I like these really simple puzzle games, or I'm sorry, action games that have a lot of just dexterity as the main drive. So I'm really happy that they're making a new one to kind of make up for the mighty number 9 fiasco.
They're making a new Mega Man.
Oh my gosh, where were you this whole conversation?
I'm doing my thing. Sorry. That's
Did,
really cool. Nice.
did you play Mega Man ever?
Yeah, when I was young, I played the OG games. Not all of them, but I played one here and there. They were really cool. Had fun mechanics. Was
Drawhouse says he can't see or hear anything. I don't know. I don't know how to solve this
maybe you
problem,
should see a
Drawhouse.
doctor, buddy.
Oh,
Oh,
sick
I'm
burns.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, you don't know. You might need to see a doctor. Aside from he
Oh,
can't have access to this video. You don't know anything about him.
oh,
Um,
I feel bad.
what was the next? Oh yeah, tuna Yahoo. I absolutely love your work. Thank you. I try. I like my work too. That's why I do it. I paint it because I like it. What's the stream about today, sons? J Omis Wamu Ahindiori Ru. Snap. Maybe try to refresh. Oh, they're trying to give him some help. Tell him to go to Twitch. It's under the same alias, Robotpencil. Just tell him to go to twitch.tv/Robotpencil. Is that right? You guys can't
Yeah.
write the link, but just tell him to go to Twitch TV Robotpencil. No way, you like your own work? Sarcasm on the internet. Maybe it wasn't sarcastic. It's really hard to tell. I think that people should be proud of their work, though. I meet a lot of artists who really self-deprecate quite a lot. And they say a lot of terrible things about their own work. And they point that out to me, and they, beg for mercy. And I'm like, your work's good. I remember one time I met Jamie Jones, and I went up to him and I was like, man, your work's amazing, dude. It's amazing. And he was like, nah, it's pretty garbage. And I was like, no, you're garbage. Because how would someone with such skill not recognize how skillful they are? It's like, you are probably a robot, and I may have to exterminate you. And I did. That's why you never heard of Jamie Jones. Or you haven't heard from him for a while. Because I've exterminated him. I'm just kidding. I think he posted something recently. But it was good. It was still pretty good. He's really great. There's other artists who I've met, like, were remarkably better than me. And again, they would say stuff like, yeah, I'm not that good. I'm like, shut up. You're great. And I think it's really important for people to have, a huge or a good appreciation for their skill and their effort, especially if you spend a lot of time practicing. You know what I mean? And I do. So I'm very proud of my abilities, and I take it pretty seriously. I think there's a difference between arrogance, right, and pride. And even in the defense of arrogance, I think people could be arrogant as well. It's just not favored, right? People don't like it when you're like, hey man, I love your work here. I know, I'm the best. And they're like, oh okay, wait, what? No, seriously, dude, I'm like the best. And I think it's fine to.
I'd be surprised if you didn't like my work.
Yeah, I think people just expect people to be humble, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I challenge that. Like, why should someone? What if they are actually the best? Can they not say that they're the best? Like, can Usain Bolt not say that he's the fastest person on this planet? Because technically, he is. There's no
No,
one
not
faster.
even. It's just literal.
Yeah, it's not even.
It is what it
him-
is.
Yeah, he's not being arrogant. I guess, right? I guess
Yeah.
you're right. So
Well,
in
it
that
depends on your
case,
tone, right? Like,
yeah, like
it
if
you can be. It's like, what is it? A humble brag, right?
yeah,
Is it
like what
not?
if yeah? Let me point a scenario. Sorry to interrupt. Like, what if you were so good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe not the best. Maybe it's too subjective to claim that you're the best, but you keep saying you are though. But you know, you donate your money to all your proceeds and earn income to good causes. You are really nice to people. You know, you take the time to hang out with them and to talk with them. But then, you know, when someone asks you about your work, you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm like the fucking best, dude." And they're like, "What?" And you're like, "Yeah, man, like I'm seriously like one of the greatest." that's ever lived. And everything else is true. Like, this person's a good person. This person has done good things. What would we call that? Is that a humble brag, or is that arrogance? And if it is arrogance, is it okay? Because I guess, like, in movies we see arrogance, and usually arrogance is tied together with like evil and malicious behavior, right? Following it. Does it make sense?
Yeah, well, or the anti-hero. Sometimes
Oh yeah, you know
you
what?
think
You're
you're
right.
hot shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like Tony Stark, right? Like, he's a
yeah.
great
He would
example of
say, "I'm
someone.
the best. I'm the smartest."
Yeah,
Right.
but he's a philanthropist, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Especially after the incidents of the first Iron Man, right? He came to
Mhm.
his senses. Um, yeah, that's interesting. So I guess it's still arrogance, right? So that's my point. Like, it's okay to be proud of your work. It's okay to have even some arrogance towards it, especially if all your other behavior doesn't say that you're a bad person. I think it's just normally people don't like when people brag, right? It's like a sore winner attitude. For instance, whenever I would play against John in Halo, he is actually better than me, like dramatically better than me in Halo,
uh,
and he would just be like, he'll just be like, "Oh, dude, you suck, man. You'll never beat me." And I'm like, and I try harder, and he beats me even harder, and it
that's
just
funny. I
gets,
called him earlier today, so that's kind of funny. I
yeah, it
was just
gets
talking with the
even,
guy.
yeah, it just gets even worse. I get so infuriated. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you tried. Look at you. Oh, it's so cute. It's so cute." And he does stuff like that,
Oh,
and
that's fucked up.
I get even more infuriated.
I had a friend like that named Dewey. That would be Smash Bros. He would wreck us in Smash Bros. All the time, especially me. And I would be like, no, like I'm better than this. And he would like not even try. He would before the match starts, he'll click like the randomize for his hero.
Yeah, of course.
And he would just get whatever, and he'll beat me with any of them. And it's like ah.
Yeah, I used to get so mad, but
Yeah.
but that's the thing, though. That's what I'm trying to say. I think it's okay. It's okay to have
No, it's
some.
totally okay to be confident. I think maybe it should be more focused on confidence than it is bragging, right?
Nope,
Because I mean, if you're
bragging.
no, sure, bragging.
No, I'm just trying to say that it's even okay to potentially brag. Like, I think,
Okay,
like, that's
straight up
obvious,
bragging you
right?
can
Like,
do.
yeah, that's obvious. Like, being confident, right? Being, proud. I'm trying to say, like, where's the limit before we start to say, okay, take it back a notch, you know?
I think it's when you put people down and be bragging. I think the combination of the two, because bragging sometimes means I have this, you don't, or I can do this and you can't. That's where bragging starts getting perceived as um, you're talking down to somebody. I think
Yeah, because
and
I teach.
versus
Go ahead. Sorry.
oh go ahead. Okay, so I was gonna say versus bragging in a way. Let's say you're trying to help somebody, right? You're like,
Uh-huh.
and you're bragging like, oh, I know this thing so well. I'm the best. I could help you out, or I'm the best, and it's because of this, this, and that. Let me show you, and not like a you can't do this as well. Don't like try not to highlight that. Think about like music. Music is super braggadocious, especially hip hop, and that's like expected, right? If you can't brag well, your music's not good. So there is a way to brag where we like it, right? Or else that kind of music wouldn't be successful. People bragging about their money, their cars,
Sure.
which is sorry, demonetized.
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 We're gonna monetize you, and then demonetize you, Mr.
Yeah,
Jones.
you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. All
Or
right.
do you? Yeah.
Yeah, for instance, when my kids, like, we play card games or board games, and when my
Uh,
kids lose, I'm like, okay, yeah, you lost, you know, and then like, sometimes they get really mad at, like, their friends when their friends beat them in a game, and they come to me and they're just like so and so beat me in this game, and I say, okay, so what's the problem here, you know, because
yeah.
I'm trying to teach them, like, yeah, well, so what, like, if you don't want to lose, then you got to try harder, you know? And I said, and even if you do keep losing, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, you know? Don't take it personal, kind of thing, right? It just
Yeah.
means you're not good at that thing, or that person that you're going against is much better than you, right? It is quite possible that you will never win against that one instance or that scenario, against that one circumstance, right? And many other, like if you try to keep racing Usain Bolt and you keep losing to him because he just is and may always be for the next or the remainder of your life the fastest person on this planet, right? That can most likely happen, you know? But you're going to be so much faster than literally billions of people. Like potentially there will be people in 3-digit numbers that will be faster than you at the most conservative stance of it. Meaning that like if you train just as hard as Usain Bolt, maybe did everything he did, you most likely will never beat him, but you can definitely beat 7 billion other people, right? Minus maybe the few hundred who could beat you.
So you're kind of mentioning that like winning is relative.
Yeah, and so and that's why I was trying to teach my kids, right? Like,
Yeah.
you might not beat that person not because of anything personal. It's everything. It's practical, meaning that you haven't practiced probably nearly as much. So, for instance, like John religiously played not Counter-Strike, Halo, and so I had no chance, right? Because I was just a beginner. I've never played the game ever before that, and then I was playing with him, and every time I would get better, he'd get better, you know. So it was really compounded, and it became really clear that like he would learn even just know how to beat me, you know. And so it wasn't even a matter of like me beating him; it was a matter that he just knew how to beat me, right? And then what ended up happening was I actually was good at Halo in general, and I was able to beat many other people, you know. Because to me, John was like the hardest person to face. Does that make sense? Like there was just no one better than him, and I may end up like sometimes third or even like fourth in these like, you know, local scrimmages with other people, but that meant I was in the higher echelon of skill. Makes sense. So yeah, it's all good, man. Brag. Just as long as you don't hurt nobody, right? Just be like, yo, I'm the best. And then when someone's like, oh, what about this artist? This artist seems to be objectively better than you. You can be like, oh, all right. Well, once I beat them, then I'll be the best. You know?
Yeah. Well, there's that trope of rivals in every good story.
Yeah.
I don't know if that relates in any way, but
let me see. If you don't like your work, it's good. It means that your analysis skills got better. If you don't like your work, it's good. I think I disagree. Yeah, I think it's okay to be critical of your work. Right? Like that's fine. Like you can be like, "Yeah, I'm pretty good." And then you see someone better than you, be like, "Oh, wait, never mind. In the context of this new framework, I am clearly not as good as I thought I was." It's the whole big fish in a small pond attitude, right? But if you are, there is a obvious ability to be really arrogant that you don't see your pitfalls, right? And I think that is a negative effect. And so when I think people think about confidence or arrogance, they think of it in that negative connotation too, right? Like if you think that you can't improve, then by all means you're going to be stuck for sure, right? But if you think that you're good and you still can see what's wrong with your work, that's different, right? And I see the opposite happen on the other side of the spectrum, which I think is just equally as dangerous, where some people think that their work is incredibly bad, so it paralyzes them. They don't do anything. Anytime they try to learn something new, they stop because they're like, "Oh, this is so bad," and then they stop, and that is a tremendous problem too. But there are people who, you know, are really humble, who are extremely good, and they can recognize the flaws in their work. In fact, they openly talk about it every time someone talks to them, right? They're, "Oh man, you know, but this is so bad. Like I'm so bad, man," you know. But yet that one variable which is needed, is that criticism and that lack of letting that criticism paralyze them. So I think it's neither good or bad necessarily to just like your work or whatever. That's what I disagree with this. I don't think it's necessarily that if you dislike your work that it's good. I don't think it means anything. What it really means is, what really matters is, are you actually doing something, whether you like your work or not? Because if you like your work, but then you can see it critically and you change it, that will eventually put you forward. You'll just come off as a very confident individual, right? And then if you look at your work negatively, but yet again you are very critical of it and you do things to improve, that again is good. But then you are viewed as very humble, or someone who is extremely, self-deprecating, right? But in both scenarios, you can be confident and be blinded by your confidence, right? Which is actually seated in some insecurities. If you're blinded by your confidence, that means you're actually insecure about something, and it's just not obvious. Where the other one is, you're also insecure about your pitfalls, but you make it very obvious, and you have a lot of sympathy for yourself, and you avoid any kind of drama, that you would put on yourself. So I think it's just good to just be critical in general, regardless if you like or dislike your work. I was just posing the question as like, where is the limit before we start saying that person's an arrogant asshole? If we should even say that, right? Because I don't think there's much of a debate on the other side of the spectrum, right? Like, no one really gets mad at a really humble person. I do from time to time, because I think it's like, okay, like, are you trying to insult me?
You can get obnoxious.
Yeah,
you can be obnoxiously humble.
Yeah, are you trying to, like, dude, you seriously are one of the best. No, I'm like really bad, dude. Trust me. Like, I don't trust you. Like, I could see your work. It's amazing. I understand you're playing the humble game, but like, can you just take the compliment? I can't take the compliment. I don't deserve it. All right, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I was like, all right, we're done talking.
Yeah. I don't stay up at night with this type of stuff. I just thought it was an interesting topic. And so, what else is going on? If I say I'm great, then you may think I am boasting. But if I say I'm no good, you will know I am lying. Bruce Lee. Ooh. Dang, Tuna brilliance.
Is that a quote?
Yeah, from Bruce Lee.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, man, Bruce Lee, dude. He knows. He's lived this life. Anyone know that can quote Bruce Lee is a boss? Anyone that can quote Bruce Lee is a boss. Anyone that can Ome Wamu is a nanny? What does that mean?
I love that.
I don't know what that means.
Omaiwa.
If someone tells you I hate you.
What in Japanese?
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Omaiwa is what is Omaiwa? I think it's you are.
I don't know any of that.
I think they say like you are already dead. That's like
I hate you.
It's a meme.
I hate you. Says Draw
Okay,
House.
well.
No, it says if someone tells you I hate you because you are so good doing draws, do you feel good or bad? When someone says that, I know they're just being sarcastic. It's just a saying, right? It's just a phrase. It's not. It doesn't mean anything. It is at least
it's not literal.
Yeah, at least for as far as I know, it's just someone has so much appreciation. They're just like trying to say something incredibly sarcastically negative that could not be true, but it's just making the compliment stronger. It's like, I like your work so much that I actually hate you. Because it isn't too good. So whenever I hear that, I always feel complimented, always. Unless they came up to me in no context. Yeah, like the visa. If you just come into my house and just say, I hate you. And I don't know who you are. You never see my work ever before. Yeah, then in that context, I'll be like, wait a minute, who are you?
I came in just to say, I hate you.
Yeah, see, that's a great example.
Yeah.
So get out, ban them. Always feel God. Good job, Tona. True. XD. So you are using the iPad Pro Procreate for jobs? I am. You need to get good, son. Yes, you do. Pro-parenting. It is pro-parenting. I beat him last Thursday. At Robotpencil, I'm the best. Whatever, Tabisa. Question. Do you use reference when painting human or human-like bodies, or practice with reference, then do it all from imagination? Just curious. I do a little bit of everything, but I've done a lot of practice in the first 5 to 6 years of my training, like a lot of reference study that I have a lot of just built in. But whenever I learn or try to paint something new that I've never painted before, then I always have to use reference. I distinguish it between internal reference versus external reference. Internal reference is the reference that you learn, you keep it in your brain, and external reference is the reference that you need on the side of your monitor or on your phone or wherever the heck you look at reference. In my case, whenever I try to draw beautiful things, I just look in the mirror. Oh, shoot, son. Anyway.
Wow.
Anyway, I generally just paint from my own imagination. Yeah. See, Tabiso was so amused by my beauty. He said, wow. Oh, snap. Way more people on YouTube. Oh, yeah? How many more people? I can't see the numbers, so I'm just assuming.
I think it was like 10, 15 more people.
Nice. Hey, guys, I'm the best. AJ told me to say it, so it's true. Hello, Mr. Jones. Great illustration. Thank you. So have you or another artist you know ever had depression and stuff? If so, would you have any advice for someone struggling with the same? Ome wo mo shindurio nani? You are already dead. Do you like the new Krita build? Krita? Is that like a League of Legends character? Or is
it's a art app. It's like
when I hear build and like a weird name, I think League of Legends.
No.
Or some sort of RPG game. That's how you know I'm like heavy nerd.
He's just asking about your brushes. That's what that really means.
Yeah. Krita build?
What build are you running, bro?
Is that like a new app or like a new software?
It's not new, but it's been around for a bit.
It's the free Photoshop. Think of it like the Blender Photoshop.
Okay. No, I haven't tried it.
Yeah, I think one of the key things about it was just like processing, like it's super quick and lightweight.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I like. Yeah, that's the only reason I like Photoshop is because it's incredibly powerful. Like you don't realize how powerful it is until you jump into a different software. But I hear that other softwares are starting to catch up.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, I
there are a lot of them though. What's the one that has like it has like the pixel equivalent of voxel rendering or something like that, where it's like it can do sort of raster rendering.
You mean Mischief?
No, it's like a God. What is it called?
I don't know.
Demonetized.
Demonetized.
Demonetized. It's over. It's over, guys. Everyone go home. I'll find the name because it was
right.
like one of those other ones that's like coming in a big packet, and it's trying to take a lot of the functionality of both Illustrator and Photoshop and then put it into sort of one-ish program, and then just have a lot of like it's designed for people doing like web design or graphic design and all that sort of stuff, but it has
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, to look at.
To answer the do I know any other artists that suffer from depression? I definitely know several artists who suffer from extreme depression. Some of them are my students. Some of them are like just really established artists. But me, I do not. Mainly because I just don't see the practicality of it, right? And my mind works very, like, it really functions as much as it can on logic. Not all the time, but most of the time. And so my mind, for whatever reason, saw that as like, yeah, depression's kind of just illogical, bro. I'm like, oh, okay. But with that being said, I'm not trying to say that if you suffer from depression, you have illogical tendencies. It's just that my logic overcame whatever chance my depression could have sleeped in, if that makes sense. To give you an example, like when I was probably the most depressed or sad, it only lasted for like an hour or two. is when I got laid off of one of my first jobs I ever had, and I had nowhere to go and nowhere to stay, and I was just about to move in with my girlfriend. Now she's my wife, and her sons, and I was just like, oh shoot, like what am I gonna do? And I remember just laying there for like about like an hour to 2 hours, just like freaking out. And then I said, but freaking out's not gonna pay for rent in the next 2 months, bro. Nobody cares that you're depressed. I mean, I'm sure some people do, but in the grand scheme of things, really, you got to do something about it. And so I got up, went to my computer, and started looking up ways to do that thing that I wanted to do, which is get out of this situation. Called my girlfriend, told her the bad news. She was totally cool with it. She was pretty upset, but I mean, she knew it was out of my control. But she believed that I was going to find a solution to the problem. She trusted me. And I did. I found a solution. And it worked out at the end. But my point is that, like, in that moment, I realized that action was really a good solution to the problem. And so then I usually try to tell other people the same thing that run into depression. Like I tell them, your depression is generally, it's context based, right? So you live in a society where everybody is really pushing you to succeed at something, right? You gotta succeed or you suck at life, right? But if you look at like different cultures, like if you look at cultures that have like these people who live in these fisherman boats in these houses off on the sea, or if you look at like there's this country or this like city, I don't know what to call it, that's just an island. It's just like an island of like, that's no bigger than like a small duplex, like apartment complex or something like that. It's not that big, and there's like hundreds of people living on there, generations of people too. It's not even just like it's been there for like a little bit. Like there's like 3 or 4 generations, and they don't have any scope of like what they're missing out on, right? And you look at cultures that have like, if you're living in poverty or low income in America, for instance, then you have a higher chance of depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, because next door, most likely, or like just a couple miles up the street, there's probably a nice suburban area, where they shop at Whole Foods, every day. They can afford to. And, they have 7 different iPads, one for each bathroom, and you're living in like a 1-bedroom apartment with your whole family, including your grandma and your grandpa, barely have access to anything. Those chances of depression are going to be much higher. In fact, there's the evidence that the higher the standards are in your country and the more access to status that you may actually have, then the more likely you will be depressed. Meaning that if you have a country, like I was saying, that says, hey, be rich and be successful or you're a loser, your chances for depression are increased. But then also you have to have access to status, like meaning that you also can go to schools potentially at some level, or have access to the type of jobs you're just not skilled enough, whatever. Versus if you have low standards, low status, meaning that, like, I think like some of the Norwegian countries have this, where they don't really, like, for instance, they give high acclaim to teachers, like just elementary, middle school, high school teachers. They give them a lot of praise because they believe that they're really educating the minds of the future, because they literally are. So they give them a lot of praise and a lot of, pats on the back, as well as every other, profession. They treat every profession, seriously and with respect. They treat most people with respect. It doesn't matter what you do, And there's basically a low standard for high status, meaning that like if you have a high status job versus someone who has a low status job, it's not a big deal in some of these Norwegian countries. And so then guess what? They have a very low depression, low anxiety rate. But then if you look at countries like, some of the Far East countries like China, Japan, Korea, especially Korea, it's incredibly high. Like, you got to be awesome, or you really are ashamed. You should be ashamed. You know, I mean, even their pop stars live to this standard. Okay, and so it's really what it is. And so once you have this kind of understanding of kind of the worldview a little bit, it makes it easier, like, at least logically, right, to understand that, wait a minute, like, who am I trying to impress? Now, listen, I understand you have to pay your bills, and that in itself can be very upsetting, right, if you can't. But there's many solutions to that. You can take a regular job at like a supermarket, or you can work at like a electronics store and work towards your career. Just be patient, right? That's actually very possible, especially for those of you who live in a country that's free, right, or has access to these things. Many of you guys who have access to the internet most likely have these tools available to you. And I say most likely. I don't say all. I'm sure some of you guys are in some sort of community internet cafe that you only have an hour to be on the computer, and you were lucky enough to catch my stream. For those of you, damn, dude, tight. You know, very unlikely that you're gonna suffer from this depression too. You know, because if you live in that community, then you have different standards of quality of life, meaning that you're probably not feeling the symptoms, right? More than anything, you probably feel more ambition. But for those of you who have or watching these streams on your phone or on your computer that has more than 4 gigs of RAM running it, yeah, you're more likely to suffer from depression, not because it's potentially genetic or it's passed down to you. It's because of the standards of your worldview, like the place that you live, the environment, right? Because if you look at, like I said, if you look at the populations of like people who live in these like really what we would consider really obscure and terrible situations, are incredibly happy, you know, with their life. It's only when you look at the modern world where you see like, oh, if you make $30,000 a year or less, you're very likely to suffer from this depression. You know, especially if you get one medical bill here in America, you're gonna feel it real strong. And so for me, yeah, it's just, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to have those feelings. And it's okay to even consider that you will never get rid of them, right? You just will always have them. But you should try to manage them, right? Try to find ways to manage them. Make friends with people that can understand your situation. If you can't, then, you know, seek help. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Seriously. Society makes it seem like everybody's got their shit together, but I promise you, nobody got their shit together. Okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know anybody who's truly got their shit together. Okay? And I know a lot of accomplished people. And so just keep that in mind. Like, you're not alone. You're not unique in this problem. But you will have to understand that these types of things are environment driven. So just move to a different country. Move to a country where they're just like, yeah, it's all good, dude.
Yeah,
like,
dude, you're fine.
Yeah, you're fine, bro.
I wanted to add to...
nope, I'm the best. I give out the best advice. No one can match that.
I grant permission.
I believe I'm the best.
You have permission to speak.
Yeah, you got permission.
Like the Kanye commercial. But I'm the best. Yeah, no, I wanted to add just because it's something that I actually dealt with when I was in school and ended up taking a year off school just because things got messed up. I think there are a few things. It's kind of different for everybody. So,
nope,
in general,
I'm the best. And it's the same for everyone.
For AJ.
It's the same for everybody.
When AJ's concerned, it's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
But a good thing though to do is, yeah, definitely get help if you can. Like if you have a doctor that you see regularly, it's usually good to talk to them about it and actually, you know, or if you like, if it's something that's an option for you, you know, therapy. But also making sure you're in contact with people, you know, as often as you can, and just being social with people and having them be sort of around, because that's actually one of the, you know, some of the biological causes come from sort of being very sedentary. You know, I don't know if people have heard of seasonal affect disorder. That's when you sort of are indoors all day. You don't really get a lot of sunlight, and what ends up happening is your circadian cycles get all messed up, and there's all sorts of weird brain chemistry that changes because of that and can cause those kinds of feelings. So
Oh shit!
getting up, getting
That's
out,
what I
talking.
got.
Yeah, no, it's so like as often as
Psych,
you
I'm the
can.
best.
Yeah,
Yeah, AJ's always in the car whenever I talk to him. So you know
I'm
he
the
is now.
best.
AJ lives in the car. I mean, it's kind of hard to do when you're an artist, because you kind of do have to, you
No.
kind of
No,
sit down.
you're wrong.
No.
Dang,
What
dude.
a fool!
Time.
No, it's good.
Sorry, he's being like real serious, trying to give amazing advice.
I'm being all
I'm
serious,
just
trying to give actual advice. These guys are just like,
trolling
see,
hard.
this is what happens.
So I love you.
No, but it's
No,
actually
that's true.
this
That
is
actually
the
like
kind of
cabin
thing
fever,
that-
right?
Yeah.
That's what I get that all
Yeah.
the time, dude. I get
I take
cabin fever all
vitamin
the time.
D pills because I don't get sun.
no, yeah.
I mean,
and-
I think that's a Washington thing.
Yeah,
just don't have
it's totally a thing that people see. Like when people move to places in the Arctic Circle, there's like a
Yeah.
really established thing that because there's so much less sunlight, your whole body gets all weird about it. But definitely try and have actual contact with people, because I think what happens for a lot of people is that with all sort of like, yeah, I'll Skype somebody, or I'll FaceTime, or I'll email.
I just email somebody.
People email, all right.
I mean, I email, but not just to talk to people.
No, I mean,
I haven't done that since AOL days, dude.
Yeah, my dad does that. So, but yeah, meeting up with people in person and just having conversation and being around people. I don't know what the real number for this should be, but I try to do it like outside of the context of work, because work is annoying. Just hanging out with some people that I know and like at least 2 or 3 times a week, and it kind of keeps me sane. It's weird that you like start to feel better, because I noticed one thing specifically that happened for me is that while I was in school, and I hit a point where I was like only working on my projects for whatever classes I was taking and not really hanging out with anybody. And I was also doing stuff like if someone called me on the phone, I would just not answer. Just like, I don't want to, it's a hassle to talk to this person. And then at some point I was doing like therapy or whatever. My therapist was like, no, don't, just answer the phone. You'll feel better. And weirdly enough, even like no matter what the conversation was, it was awesome. It just like this feeling of relief to be like, oh, I spoke to somebody and it didn't, end in a bushfire. Like, yeah, I think it's something
that social animals, right? That's why.
Yeah, and it's, if you get too sort of locked in, you get too much like what's that guy's Bon Iver fucking rented a cabin in the woods and record an entire album. It's like, yeah, you can only do that so many times before you start going crazy. And that's why that album was depressed as hell.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. I do.
Also, I'm the best. AJ's not the best.
Oh shoot! Paint a rhino shitting an elephant without reference. It's too late for that. There was a time where I was taking suggestions. It's gone. What tablet are you using? Wacom. This is a little off topic, but what's your take on artists using Patreon for extra income? And have you considered doing it? I have considered it. And my take is, yeah, of course. People should do whatever they can to make that extra buck. I think it's completely fine. Do you make the illustration with a tablet or a Cintiq? A tablet, homie. Do you think it's worth it to buy an iPad Pro and Apple Pencil just to draw and paint and procreate? It depends on how much and how often you're going to paint and draw. I pretty much do it exclusively now on my, like, all my work and even my personal stuff now. Krita is an open source. We've already answered this question. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. But bit weird question, but how would you approach rendering a tree with a small amount of leaves? It is a weird question, and a question I'm not going to answer right now. But I would say using reference of trees with small leaves.
The app was Affinity, by the way. That other one.
What?
Affinity, the other
painting
thing. Affinity Designer and Photo.
All right, cool. How to establish solid connection with other artists? Is it the best way to get freelance work? Yes. I always say there's 2 things you can control: making friends and being good at art. If you don't do both of them, then it's going to be much harder. You increase your chances if you're good and you hang out with other people. Okay?
And you're nice.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
No, you don't have to be nice.
You're a dick.
Just hang out with them.
Don't
And
be
just-
nice. Just be the best. Then
just
they'll
be
want
the
Oh
best.
yeah. My bad. I'm sorry.
Duh.
I'm such a fool.
Yeah. So
Uh,
if there's a convention at any time
oh,
soon and you guys
I
see
think-
me, just remember I'm the best and just give me drinks. That's how this works.
Yeah. I think he or she was asking specifically, how do you build connections? Well, yeah, like I just go out there and talk to people often. I really do. I just try to make friends as often as I can. Kevin DJ, hello. Mr. Jones, hello back at you, Kevin. Is it true that nobody needs you abroad unless you got a superior skill? Meaning it's practically impossible to get a job abroad as a junior or middle artist. I don't think it's practically impossible. I would say that it's challenging. One thing remains true, regardless if you're a junior or middle level artist. You got to have the skills that pay the bills. And people are just going to hire people that are capable. Now, if you're a senior or really high-level artist, then yes, it's going to increase your chances to work abroad. I mean, that's what I do, right? And many of my friends. But, I mean, when I was starting out, I had to work in studios, but it was easier for me because I live in California. So I don't know. The context of that is much harder for me to determine if it was just a matter of where I lived or a matter of I just needed to do that because I was a low-level artist. But my point is that it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. You should always strive to be as best as you can because that will help you in the larger scope of things. Orange Freeman. At Orange Freeman, I want to know the answer to that question too. I live in the Philippines. Oh, the Philippines, we were just there. And I was talking to some artists and they were making the same complaint. And I was saying to them, because I guess a lot of the companies outsource to the Philippines. And I was saying to them, well, why don't you guys make your own shit?
Make a studio.
Yeah, like why don't you make your own studio and make your own games? And well, this and that. I was like, well, I mean, China's starting to do it. Korea has already done it. They have a huge game industry, right? That's independent from the West, right? In fact, I think China's already there too. China's starting to break into film. Yeah, China's trying to break into film now. And then India's starting to do that with film. Like India's like, you know what? We're gonna make Bollywood movies. Fuck all this other noise. And it's a killer industry. Yeah. And so whenever people say this, I'm like, well, someone has to start it. Yeah. And so why can't you start it? Why can't you start your own independent concept art industry? And then you'll say to me, well, this is a reason. And I'm like, well,
because it's hard.
Then this is another reason, right? You don't want to be the guy or gal who says that it was impossible, and then 2 years later, one of your friends does it with even more limited resources, showing how much of a sham you are, right? There's a thing that I've been teaching my children that I'm going to teach you guys because I think you guys are all children. I'm just kidding. Because I'm the best.
All right, J. Cole.
I am the best. I'm the best. No, but this is actually a really cool thing. This should be taught to adults too, to be honest, because it's like teaching children like how to think about their actions and their thoughts and all that stuff, and separating it, right? So there's this idea of thoughts, feelings, and then behavior, right? You children. Is there a U in behavior? I think there is. And so,
yes, there is. If you're spelling it right,
I put it right in the front.
Oh no,
no, okay,
no, I don't think that's where it goes.
All right, well, I tried, and so thoughts, feelings.
Not how you spell it. I'm seeing it now.
It's not silent. I thought it was silent. All right, well, I tried. Anyways, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, right? So let's say the thought is, I don't think it's possible to work out of studio for whatever reason. I can't work out of studio. And this is where it departs, the way that people feel. There's two ways you can feel, or multiple ways, but we'll just stick it to two. So one way you can feel like, this sucks, I feel trapped, etc., etc., and then that will lead to the behavior of not doing anything, giving up, these types of things, right? And then the other thought could be, well, I could be the first, or maybe I will start the trend, or maybe I will figure it out and do it for myself. So then the behavior would then, the behavior or the feelings would be like, you know what, I have hope. There's an ability to do this. And so then the behavior would then lead to that, right? Like the behavior would be you going online, researching, going to events, building your skill, build a reputation, work for these companies, come back to your country, build that studio, work, next to your grandma. You know what I mean? There's the whole saying, like, if there's a will, there's a way. And I only say this for those who have access to the types of tools. Like if you are living in a third world country, like you have no idea that the internet exists, you've never seen a computer in your life and all that stuff, like or even in a war-torn country, your family has been all murdered and you are just scrounging for life every day by day.
Wait, what are you doing in this if you're in that place?
That's my point. Like in this circumstance, you have different priorities, okay? But in most cases, especially those of you who have access to this YouTube channel, right? Watching me right now, talking live
Or asking these questions.
and asking these kinds of questions means to me that you actually may have circumstances better than you suspect. That's all. Because they just created a Comic-Con Asia, the first one ever, in the Philippines, and it was full of people. It was full. It didn't look like a Comic-Con that would have been held in a country like the Philippines. It looked like it was a stateside Comic-Con.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
dude,
that means there's tons of people that are interested in that field. I went to one of the malls there. One of the malls, the whole building was just devoted to just fan boy type stuff, like toys galore, like Gundams to the pop toys, etc.
That's
Like
cool.
all, like the whole building, dude. Like a whole building. I wasn't even like
Like
confused.
giant replicas and
Yeah,
stuff.
tons.
Nice.
And
yeah, dude,
I'm
that's
like,
Carlo was telling me how there's this whole generation of comic artists who were working at all the big companies, and they like literally in like the late 80s. They're all from the Philippines, and they just
yeah, they're like huge,
all right.
huge fans of these things. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like talent supersedes location.
Yeah, and but I'm being realistic. Like I know there's some places that statement would not be true. Okay, I'm just going on a limb here that those who ask those types of questions, that it is true for them. Okay, I could be wrong, right? I don't know everybody's circumstance. Like I said, this person who's asking this question could be like, all right, well I have to go, guys. I have to, like, my hour's up. I got to go walk my goat. That's 20 miles from here, and I have to go sprint. Like, oh, okay, well, that person might have it a little harder. But even in that circumstance, the Olympic javelin athlete, like I think he's gold winner now, he started in Kenya. They don't have a javelin coaching there. They don't have gyms. They don't have javelins. Okay? He just watched YouTube videos for like an hour every day and learned how to javelin. He thought it was so fascinating, and then became an Olympic javeliner. The first Kenyan.
Think of the Jamaican bobsled team.
Yeah, but you see my point?
We're actually good.
Oh, there was a good one? You're not talking
Yeah, no,
about Cool Runnings?
The women's bobsled team was
okay.
really good this year.
Oh, yeah,
No,
I
they're
do remember
actually
that.
good.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I thought you were talking about Cool Runnings. The movie.
Well, that too.
with John
That's
Candy.
why they have one.
Okay. But do you see my point? That's all I'm trying to say. Okay? So keep that in mind. Those of you who are
Keep your head up.
wondering. Depth of novelty over cultural level of base intelligence equals chance of potential depression. That's probably a shorter and more fancier way of saying what we said earlier. God, you guys are hilarious. Whatever, Tuna. You don't know me. You don't know me, Tuna.
I was going to
the
say,
best.
actually, even for those people too, that a really good model is whatever country you're in, if you're able to get decent internet,
I'm the best.
and you can start. You could tell people in that country that you're the best, and no one will have any idea because they're just like, well, it's the best guy around. But you can outsource and use the money you make from outsourcing to fund your own project. Because one of the cool things is that you'll almost always be cheaper than anyone stateside if you're outsourcing. And a lot of people outsource. Like even I work in slots, and even we outsource.
Say again? You work where?
In slots, doing slot machines, and even
that's
slots
right.
outsource. Like there was one game that we made that looked like a Korean RPG, and I was just like, "What? Wait, what? Who made this?" They're just like some guy in Korea.
Yeah.
They just paid him the fucking shit ton of money. It's like, all right.
Yeah, I mean that's where the comments I made on like talent supersedes location.
Yeah.
You know, we're in a very unique industry where you're competing with the world. You're not necessarily competing with your neighbors. A lot of other
Yeah.
positions, a lot of other fields, you're competing with whoever's in that location.
Yeah.
Even like being a doctor or trying to get a pharmacist job, the people
Mhm.
that are applying for those jobs have to be in that area, and you're trying to be the best in your area.
Yeah.
It's still competitive, but we also have to keep in mind how competitive
Yeah.
this field is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that
Because you could be living in Washington and then or wherever California, and you're competing with people in Vietnam,
yeah.
and there's somebody in Vietnam that applies for the same job, and he's better than you or she's better than you,
Yeah.
and they're going to get the job, and they're cheaper a lot of the times. They're
No,
not
absolutely.
necessarily, but a lot of times they are because they can
Yeah.
afford to be.
Yeah.
Wrong.
And another thing too is that I think people
I'm the best.
neglect the possibilities where they are. Like AJ was saying,
Yeah.
you know, there's all this stuff happening in China, and obviously in Korea, and so on and so forth. But even in like whatever, because there was this one company I can't remember the name of, but they're like in I think it was Angola, and there's like no
Oh, bless
game
you.
industry in Angola, and they were just like,
Oh, bless you.
fuck you, we're gonna and they're just like, we're just gonna make a game based on like, you know, some old Angolan, you know, stuff, and it's gonna be a mobile game, or and also on PS4, I think. And
Yeah.
the thing was, the quality of the game was not really that great. Like, you look at the game, it was running at like 20 frames per second or something. It was not the best, but they were literally the only ones doing it, and they're the only ones making it for that market specifically, and they're all from there, so they didn't really have to hit the same level as the Call of Duty guys.
Wrong.
All right, you
What
need to
the?
calm down.
Did Tabusa
Now
just
he's
leave?
getting a call.
Yeah, he's
Everyone's
like,
getting a call.
all right. You're not important. You don't have a call. Oh.
Okay.
I'm gonna get going though. I was supposed to
All
go
right.
long ago. Anyways, it was nice talking with you, guys and folks. Those of you who wrote nice things, appreciate it.
Delivery.
Get out of here. We're out of here anyway. And those of you who asked great questions, appreciate y'all. Talk to you guys soon in the next stream or what have you. I'll try to do these more often. Whether I will do art is to be determined. What's going on up there? Okay, there you go. And then, with that being said, peace out, friends. Laters, and have a great one.